to begin tonight's program is NASSP Executive Director, Joanne Bartoletti.
Well, good evening. Come on, a little more energy. All right. Welcome to NASSP's annual Salute to Leaders. NASSP created this event to honor those leaders who have contributed to the profession of school leadership in special ways, either through service to their professional organization or by modeling the high-quality leadership that helps students reach their full potential. And we have an impressive group of the nation's top school leaders gathered in this beautiful room tonight. With us this evening are the NASSP board members elected by their peers to give their time and talents to the stewardship of NASSP. Will the board members please stand? And may I have a round of applause for the board. And thank you, board, for all you do for NASSP. And we have some past presidents whose service has been invaluable for setting the direction of NASSP. So will our past presidents please stand, and may I have a round of applause for them. And again, thank you for all you have done to support and lead NASSP. Also among the audience and in attendance are current Principals of the Year and Assistant Principals of the Year who have distinguished themselves for their exceptional school leadership. We have current and past Digital Principals of the Year who have made the most of current technology to get the best from their students. Each of you is uniquely remarkable and uniquely deserving of the distinction you receive. Preparing for this event gave me occasion to think about what sets all of you apart from your peers. It's not necessarily that you know more than your peers or that your skills are better, although both may be true. But let me describe what I think sets you apart. First, you sense and seize opportunity. You see every encounter in your school as an opportunity to learn more about what motivates and challenges the people in your care, or to discover a bold new strategy for overcoming an obstacle. With a disciplined focus on carefully defined needs, you begin to ask that all-important question, what if? What if we galvanized the school and local Chapin community around our common goals and similarities and came up with a catchy motto like 1,000 passions, 1 heart? Principal of the Year, Akil Ross, considered that. It might ease some tensions and get people to focus more on what unites us instead of what divides us. And what if we encourage students to pursue dual credit here at Pellion High School, thought National Assistant Principal of the Year, Erica Page. It might get more students over the graduation finish line, but more important, high school could accelerate all of our students on their path to their dreams. Akil and Erica and all of you have a clear notion of where you want to go, and you're willing to experiment with different and creative ways to get there. You see challenges as opportunities, and you seize the opportunity. Of course, you always don't have to invent new ways to get things done. In fact, many times you identify a successful practice and creatively adapt it for your own use. And that's a good thing. And it brings me to the second characteristic that binds all of you: your incredible commitment to connectedness. Through all your successes and your near misses, you share your experiences transparently so the larger leadership community can benefit from what you have learned. Just as important, you position yourselves to encounter as many fresh ideas as you can. You expose yourself to as many opportunities as possible so you can identify the ones that have the most promise. So it should not surprise us that NASSP Digital Principal Brian McCann, who is today a model of technology leadership, identifies previous digital principals as his inspiration to model your expectations, and so transformed his entire school on a platform of digital collaboration. Whether you connect on social media, through professional organizations, or in local communities, your willingness to participate in a larger community of leaders speaks to your commitment to ongoing improvement and your real ability to connect with larger communities. This audience and tonight's awardees represent smart, educated people committed to a common goal: educating young people through dedicated leadership, committed to giving each student what they need to fulfill their greatest potential. So tonight, we salute all of you for your individual accomplishments, but we also salute the larger community of school leaders. We celebrate all that our school communities have empowered us to become, and we celebrate in hopeful anticipation all that our community looks forward to achieving. So thank you for being here. It's now my pleasure to introduce Christine Handy, our NASSP 2018-2019 President. Christine was elected President of NASSP as well as Chairperson of the Board of Directors for her ability to effectively cultivate relationships and drive new ideas. She is principal of Gaithersburg High School in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and was previously the state coordinator from Maryland. I've gotten to know Christine as a passionate school leader and a great dresser, who lives her belief that schools should be a warm, welcoming place where each student can become their best selves, regardless of how they begin or where they came from. She prides herself on her school's academic excellence, which is predicated on her large, diverse high school acting small enough to know each student. So please join me in welcoming NASSP President Christine Handy.
Good evening. All right, now you know I'm a high school principal. I like energy. How is everybody? All right, awesome. So now I have the opportunity to salute exceptional school leaders driving positive change in their schools. First are NASSP's Principals of the Year. The Principal of the Year program recognizes outstanding principals who have made exemplary contributions to the profession. Each of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, the United States Department of State Office Overseas Schools, and the Department of Defense Education Activity select one principal to represent their state for this honor. All of the 2017 State Principals of the Year were recognized at the Principal of the Year Institute event in Washington, D.C. in September 2017. In addition, and thanks to the support of Jostens, all state Principal of the Year winners receive access to the McKinsey Management Program for School Leaders, a powerful collaboration between NASSP and McKinsey Academy. The Leading Edge online program is designed to address the specific needs of educational leadership training for school leaders, focusing on the most important aspects of educational leadership. To the State Principals of the Year, the work that you do to empower students and provide them with high-quality learning opportunities does not go unnoticed. NASSP is here to support your vision to continue helping all students succeed. Thank you all for being powerful multipliers of effective practice. If you could please stand, we'd like to recognize you. Thank you. Out of the exceptional school leaders in the State Principals of the Year cohort, 3 finalists are selected as contenders for the National Principal of the Year Award. From these finalists, the National Principal of the Year is selected. The National Award is given to a single honoree each year. This individual will have demonstrated their ability to be an exceptional visionary, someone who, through innovative leadership, ensures a positive school culture for all in the school community. This year's National Principal of the Year Award was awarded to Akil E. Ross of Chapin High School in Chapin, South Carolina. When Akil took over Chapin High School, the school was doing fine. Metrics were acceptable, and the school could easily have continued to fly under the radar. Then Akil arrived, and he took on the low-profile but daunting challenge of leading a good school's change process towards greatness. He challenged his faculty that 82% proficiency rate and 92% graduation rate should both be 100. That challenge sparked the analysis of trend data to identify students most at risk of dropping out, then soliciting funding for a school after school to extend instructional services for those students. Chapman's graduation rate now exceeds 96%, and proficiency rates continue to climb, including a 16-point spike in math proficiency among Black students. Ross's, yes, that's pretty awesome. Ross's mantra for the school is, "We are 1,000 passions with one heartbeat." And he aims to foster an environment where students can be challenged while pursuing their own interests. As an exemplary school leader devoted to all students having equal access to the programs and personal support they need, I am honored this evening to present our 2018 National Principal of the Year, Akil Ross.
That was amazing. So good evening. I'm Akil Ross, principal of Chapin High School in Chapin, South Carolina. When I present to groups, I love to use poetry, and I have one of my favorite poems that I use to make a point. This poem is by Nobel laureate Rudyard Kipling, and it says, "No written word nor spoken plea can teach young minds who they should be, nor all the books on all the shelves. It's who the people are themselves." And I love this poem because it reminds us that it's the people, it's all of us, that makes the difference in the lives of children. I do have to take a pause here because all of us coming together look just so good. And we have this thing at Chapin called the heartbeat. And I want to try it just 1 second. Now, the sound of the heartbeat is boom, boom. We do it with a clap. And so when I say one heartbeat, I'll say ready. When I say ready, I want to hear boom, boom, one clap. One heartbeat, ready, ready, ready. Now imagine that sound with 1,400 students in one arena as they come together. It's who the people are themselves. It's the culture makers that make the difference in our schools. And so they make the difference in our schools at home, at school, and in the community. Now we hear a lot about reform efforts, but I've never seen or even heard of an underperforming school in a great community. Great communities create great schools. Why? One of the reasons lies in the story of westward expansion. As the early settlers explored the frontier, they would circle the wagons anytime there wasn't trouble. What I later come to know is that that wagon trail, at the end of the day, they would circle the wagons. They would do it every night. There would be a campfire in the middle of that circle, and they would all sit around that campfire and they would talk. They talked about stories, and they shared remedies for illnesses. Recipes were traded. Tools and handiwork were shared. Most importantly, at that campfire, they shared strategies for raising children. That was the most important thing for that community. It was their expectation. Everyone in the wagon trail believed that the future of the community was determined by the degree to which they invested in their children. As a result, they became closer through connection. As principal, I use my position to circle the wagons of our community for our children. What is an educated child? Well, the word educate has two definitions. First comes from the Latin educare, which means to train. This refers to the curriculum, the behavior expectations, which are the main focus of our schools. And we should never forget, though, the second definition of education, which comes from the Latin educere, which means to lead out. A child's passion resides in their heart. And we, as educators, as leaders, we must lead that forward. I am fortunate to work in a community that understands the true meaning of education. We seek excellence in mind, body, and spirit. If you stop by our school or our town, you'll see hearts all over the place. We call it our heartbeat. The heartbeat is a reminder that life is not lived until our passion is shared with the world. Because we have circled the wagon for our children now have circled the wagon for the next generation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Akil. I'd now like to recognize the NASSP Assistant Principals of the Year. The Assistant Principals of the Year represent each of the 50 states, the District of Columbia, the U.S. Department of State Office Overseas Schools, and the U.S. Department of Defense Education Activity. The outstanding assistant principals that make up this group demonstrate their commitment to their schools, students, and professions every day. Their leadership showcases success in raising student achievement and leading a culture in which students thrive. We believe your achievements and leadership show us how important it is to engage students in order to improve their performance. Thank you for all that you do. Will the State Assistant Principals of the Year please stand so that we may recognize you? Three finalists are selected from the State Assistant Principals of the Year, and one is selected each year to receive the honor of being named National Assistant Principal of the Year. With the support of Jostens, the National Assistant Principal of the Year also gains full access to the McKinsey Management Program for School Leaders. The 2018 National Assistant Principal of the Year is Erica Page. Go ahead. Beautiful. She's an assistant principal from South Carolina. When Erica transitioned from teaching at a large 4A school to an assistant principalship at a small rural 2A school, her first priority was to build a strong foundation for trust through effective communication. On that foundation, Erica led efforts to boost college and career readiness through dual enrollment coursework, access to AP classes, and increased honors offerings. As a result, Pillion High School catapulted from having 0 dual credit hours to 468. This year, a third of Pillion's high school seniors will graduate with college credit, with several entering college as sophomores. Let's give her a hand on that. Wow. That's awesome. The faculty admire Erica as a driving force in providing the best opportunities for at-risk students, college prep students, and everyone in between. And her students see her as the source of their positive, supportive school environment. I am honored this evening to present Erica Page, 2018 National Assistant Principal of the Year.
Thank you, Christine. Wow, what an amazing week of learning we have had here in the windy city of Chicago. It is with great pleasure that I stand in front of you today, surrounded by so many caring educators, dedicated professionals, and devoted advocates who all love children. I believe when students achieve, we all achieve and are inspired to strive for greater success. Every administrative decision that I make comes from believing in students and putting them first. This belief stems from my tough but loving, highly influential 8th grade Algebra 1 teacher, Miss White. Miss White believed in me when I struggled. She encouraged me when I wanted to give up, and she is the one who inspired me to become an educator. I believe that all children can learn, and it's my responsibility to provide them with equitable learning opportunities. Equitable learning opportunities are not about leveling the playing field. They are not about giving all students the same thing, and they are not about giving anyone an unfair advantage. However, they are about promoting equity. Equity, let's think about it. It shares the same root as equal, but it's very misleading. For example, if I went to the Cubs game tomorrow night and I tried to catch a hit along third baseman Chris Bryant, in order for me to compete with him, I would need an extra large mitt to compensate for my very small hands. I would need to grow roughly 16 inches, and I would have to gain approximately 125 pounds of lean muscle mass. In the context of education, students require different levels of support, different resources that they need for achievement. My belief in the necessity of an equitable education is summed up by my motto, all in for all students. This motto lets students, parents, and stakeholders know how strongly I feel about increasing academic confidence and achievement while promoting social, emotional, and mental wellness. My high expectations and relentless drive to serve others are fueled by my passion and love for students. From At Promise all the way up to AP, and students in all subgroups, it is my mission to reach all learners. Under my instructional leadership, students have reached all-time highs. For end-of-course exams, they've reached the highest graduation rate in school history, and we have created that robust dual enrollment program where students can take up to 19 dual credit courses on our campus. Because of this program, as referenced, 1/3 of our seniors graduated with college credit this fall. As sophomores, next year when they enter as freshmen, they'll be sophomores, and they'll be saving approximately $24,000 in tuition. As an advocate, I challenge all students to graduate with post-secondary plans, and since 2015, over 96% of every graduating class has been accepted to college or enlisted in the military. I believe in building positive relationships by putting time in with students, staff, and stakeholders. Time in to get to know them, time in to show I care, and time in to build trust. I rely on trust, the #1 factor in leadership, to foster a positive, caring school culture where everyone feels valued and appreciated. While reflecting on my leadership experiences leading school-wide change, I have learned that time and trust have been my most valuable resource. It takes time to educate colleagues on new programs. It takes time to create a vision for student success, and it takes time to build relationships before any tangible work can begin. I intentionally use time to build relationships through icebreakers and fun games, creating an atmosphere for play and for laughter. My intentional time and approach to leadership has been more valuable for students and staff and more rewarding for me than I ever imagined. Doing things like making caramel frappuccinos with extra whipped cream for various advisement groups and circling up to talk about what's good in life. This creates open discussions to build trust. For some, this might look like wasted time, but it's not. Every activity, strategy used, and discussion that I lead is intentional. I believe that leaders must intentionally set aside time to build relationships and create that strong foundation for trust. Time and trust, they are instrumental in leadership success. Just like Miss White, I am compassionate yet results-driven, and I do make every decision with students' best interest in mind. She would often say, "Erica, it's not where you start, it's where you finish." And boy, was she right. I do not take for granted the impact I, as an educator, have. I believe that education is the best way to give back to a community, and that is why I'm devoted to this profession. I am proud to call Pillion High School my home, and I am honored to share my story with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica, and congratulations. I am now excited to announce our Digital Principals of the Year. Each of these school leaders has exhibited bold, creative leadership in using technology to support teaching, learning, and school management in order to further learning goals. Digital Principals of the Year are selected based on the International Society of Technology and Education Standards for Administrators and the application of those skills for school improvement. Winners also receive access to the full McKinsey Management Program for school leaders with the generous support of Jostens. Our first honoree is Christina McBurry of Sarah Powell Academy in Wilmington, Delaware. Technology is the amplifier of personalized learning at Sarah Powell Academy, a non-traditional blended learning high school. Under Christina's leadership, each student's personalized learning plan converted into a personalized learning portal, an electronic platform in which students can maintain their plans and portfolios of work. Just as important, teachers can now collaborate across disciplines on individual plans to guide each student's blended learning program. Christina encourages the modeling of responsible citizenship in all digital interactions, and she encourages students' authentic, purposeful engagement in social media by, for example, discussing gun violence reduction and support for disaster victims in Puerto Rico. All the while, Christina advances her own learning in her own connected network. Christina McBurry, NASSP is proud to honor you as a 2018 Digital Principal of the Year. Will you please come forward?
Thank you. Well, good evening again. Distinguished guests, especially our host, NASSP President Christine Handy, and NASSP Joanne Bartolelli, our Executive Director. It's such an honor to be here, as well as past and future award recipients, and my co-partners in 2018 Digital Principal Crime, Brian and Mariah, who you will get to meet very shortly. Every glorious morning, I wake up to the love of my life, our insanely passionate and resourceful, entertaining children that I adore watching grow and develop more than anything thus far, and a career that allows me to live what I love, offering me joy and purpose. And tonight, I'm recognized for living that passion with this Digital Principal of the Year award, among many, if not all, of the most prestigious educational trend centers and trailblazers our profession has to offer. I dare say, life doesn't get much better than this. So I must be honest, this is very overwhelming for me. To be in a room with so many accomplished, tremendously talented people. And so here I stand, with that voice in my head reminding myself to take it all in, be present in the moment, and breathe so I don't pass out up here on the floor. That would not be good. I'm pretty sure Brian and Mariah feel the same. We've talked a lot over the last month, and we seem to be cut of the same cloth. It's been really cool to get to know each other. Aligned to this mindset and being present in this very moment ties to that very enlightened quote behind me from Mark Twain. The two most important moments and days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. I've been afforded several pivotal opportunities in my lifetime thus far, two of which seem exceptionally important and relevant tonight. When I realized I was a parent and when I chose to become an educator. Sometimes the line gets blurred between where one ends and where one begins. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on who you ask and why, my parenting and my educational styles are very similar. This is evidenced when one of my personal children tell me to stop principaling them, or one of my students asks me or reminds me that I'm not their mom. Yet every day, one of my children remind me of the urgency of why we do what we all do each day, why I do what I do every day. Many moons ago, I believed that being a principal would get easier. I thought parenting would get easier. I was so very misguided. As my fellow Digital Principals of the Year, Brian and Mariah, and I direct messaged getting prepared for tonight, we joked about this very point. Brian held steadfast that it does not get more difficult, it just gets different. He very well may be right. Nonetheless, for all of my children, what I want, what I desire more than anything, and you probably feel the same way, is to help guide your children toward developing their own happiness agency, because from there, the sky's the limit. There are two questions that can be asked to help us frame a pursuit of developing a happiness agency. How happy are you right now? And how happy do you think you'll be in the future? The mindful Zen consideration of these two questions is to lead one in recognizing that the answer to both is within our control, an intentional choice that can and should be the same answer. Oftentimes, our students, and perhaps ourselves, wish our lives away, watching the clock, waiting to be happy. When I graduate, I'll be happy. When I get that job, when I'm done listening to all these speeches, when I upgrade my phone, when I get that credit, when I'm recognized for an amazing award like the Digital Principal or Principal of the Year. The reality is, events don't make us happy. Things don't make us happy. Happiness is a choice, an intentional decision that each of us can make every day. My school, my very awesome school, Sarah Pyle Academy, or as we call it, the SPA, how cool is that? Was created as a dropout prevention program to service underaged or undercredited students. Over the 13 years it existed, the vast majority of students came to my school believing that they failed, when in reality, traditional school failed them in some way. Thankfully at SPA, we've been able to match students' needs and find out where they are at their zone of proximal development and do what we do best, connect. leveraging technology to enhance our ability as educators to be more connected and impactful with our students, families, and community at large and each other has been extremely rewarding. We established our vision together, collaboratively, together inspiring lifelong success through personalization, and literally built our platform from scratch to monitor, assess, and engage students in Google Apps for Education, with the intrinsic motivation to know and understand how to best utilize the GAFE to serve our students. My SPA staff took on the heavy lift of Google Apps for Education Level 2 certification on their own, and it almost, very much, became a competition. The more we were able to connect and engage, the more we were bought in, the more we wanted to leverage our capacity. My team continues to bring ideas to the table, bringing in new apps and revisions on how we can service our students better, including how to build on our students' happiness agency. That efficacy as a building leader is so awesome to witness. The latest and greatest chapter in our journey through connected technology has been in utilizing technology to establish happy connections towards their happiness agency. And happiness for our staff as well, by using Slack and other apps and technological innovations. There are still moments I feel compelled to curse technological innovation. Most of the time, it's around the dinner table or in an assembly when a phone goes off. But more days than not, I'm grateful for the ability of technology to help cultivate relationships, engage our community, and assist in our intentional development of our school happiness agency to be the very best we can be on behalf of our entire community. The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Thank you so very greatly for this honor, for validating my why, for the voice and the responsibility to continue to do what I love, my very best, for the very best that families send us each and every day in all of our schools. Tomorrow, I will be as humbled and as honored as I am tonight. Thank you.
Our next Principal of the Year is Brian McCann of Joseph Case High School in Swansea, Massachusetts. Brian lives his mantra of modeling expectations. Under his leadership, Joseph Case High School hosts regular Twitter chats and local ed camps. The school's professional development was enhanced with a year-long Techno Tuesdays series where Brian led teachers in 30-minute lab-based trainings, each with a different digital focus. To facilitate his technology-infused vision for student learning, Brian loosened device restrictions, upgraded the school's Wi-Fi, and increased technology access by converting the traditional library to a learning commons, all with a powerful, measurable impact on teaching and learning. The school's Freshman Academy orients all incoming freshmen in the use of Google G Suite, which engages them in connected learning activities. Brian McCann, NASSP is proud to honor you as a 2018 Digital Principal of the Year. Will you please come forward?
Thank you, everyone. Tonight, I feel like a recent Tony Award winner. Lindsay Mendez won Best Featured Actress for her performance in Carousel this past year. And when she accepted her award a couple Sundays ago at Radio City Music Hall, she told the crowd, be your true self, and the world will take note. 4 years ago, I attended my first NASSP National Conference. And I was taken under the wing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like Marlo Thomas in the first season of That Girl. I had no idea what was going on. It's a young crowd. The joke didn't land. Sorry. You know what I mean. Thank you. Hey, Google it. It's a great reference. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, I'm sorry. So I've never been to a national conference before, and I had two dear friends from Massachusetts who were going to take me under my wing, my friends Tara Bennett and Paul Vieira, because they were seasoned conference goers, and they showed me how to maneuver my way around my first experience in Dallas. And in Dallas, I bore witness to the awesomeness of Dwight Carter. Because of other people's connections, I had drinks with Jimmy Cassis. I shared lunch with this man. I didn't know who he was. He introduced himself as Brad Curry. And Brad invited me to take part of an ed chat. I had no idea what he was talking about. But I'm absolutely going to take part of that ed chat. What is it? So he gave me a sticker. And I read it out loud. S-A-T, chat. So I said, well, of course, I'd like to be part of this. I'm a professional. I just want to know, what are we doing in this chat? Are we going to concentrate on the verbal section, or are we going to concentrate on the math section of the SAT? He rolled his eyes. SAT chat takes place on Saturday morning. I was like, okay. But I came back to Massachusetts a new leader. I wanted to collaborate more. I wanted to take risks. I wanted to celebrate failure. I wanted to connect with like-minded people. And I wanted to learn more about being a leader. Dallas, in 2014, taught me about digital learning. The people I met in Dallas began to shape me as a digital leader. Dallas rejuvenated my leadership. I had people to look up to, I had people to connect with, and I had people to learn from. NASSP in San Diego exposed me to my first ed camp. Now imagine, most of us have been to an ed camp, right? Imagine this is your first ed camp experience. Daisy Dyer-Dewar, Jimmy Cassis, Jeff Zuhl, and Jason Markey. And I was like, oh, they must all be like this, right? And what I learned from it, I took back from my school immediately. The cycle of growth that happened that each year when I returned from the NASSP National Principals Conference, the people I associate during the time together in Orlando, in Philadelphia, or in San Diego, they lift my spirits, they challenge my practice, and they urge me to lead to a higher plane. People like Jennifer Hogan, people like Glenn Robbins, Bobby Dodd, Craig Vroom, Dr. Neil Gupta. These are people I've connected with at conferences, and they've changed the way I've led my school. And I forged connections within my own state with many educators like Tara Bennett, like my good friend and buddy Marty Gagan, like Kathy Duff, who is such an inspiration to me in her leadership skills. So what do you do with all this? What have I done with this? So here's some highlights. Each morning, I spend 15 minutes with educators from all over the country and all over the world having breakfast. I do an ed chat every school day. BFC 530 starts my day in a positive, reflective, and world-changing frame of mind. Every Thursday, because of Jason Markey, I stand outside my high school with a sign that celebrates something positive about my students. And I take pictures with them. I take lots of pictures. I love to take pictures with my students. And then I post them on social media. And then they tell the story, not about me, but about my school and my children, our children in my school. NASSP taught me the power of branding and that you have to take it into your own hands. When you take something that you learned and you model it for others to embrace, you have evolved from a digital learner to a digital leader. I've just begun my 15th year as the principal of the high school I graduated from. As an adult, I literally have been nowhere as an educator, except for Joseph Case High School in Swansea, Massachusetts, school population 530. I'm so grateful for the honor of being one of the nation's digital principals this year. To share this awesome distinction with my two new besties, Christina and Mariah, but most of all, to inspire my students, that the learning never really stops, that you're never too old to learn something new, and that a kid from a small, middle-class town on the coast of Massachusetts can evolve with the times, remain true to yourself, and then indeed, like Lindsay Menez, your peers might notice. I am grateful to all the wonderful people of NASSP. I'm grateful to Bill Gain and my awesome state association, Massachusetts. We'll see you in Boston next year, boys and girls, huh? I am grateful to my high school family, and I'm grateful to my wife, Kathleen, who's here tonight, and my real family, who all too often will ask me, can't you be that fun, positive person we see on Twitter at home? Can't you please be, at least for this evening, Twitter daddy? Thank you.
I'm inspired. There's a lot of energy in this room tonight. And finally, Mariah Rackley of Cedar Crest Middle School in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Recognizing the importance of social media for community relations, professional development, and student learning, Mariah launched a campaign resulting in 75% of her teachers maintaining Twitter accounts on which they share snapshots of learning in their classes and where they most recently participated in virtual book discussions. Most notably, Mariah led the conversion of traditional study hall periods to a common nest period, both with an added twist. Teachers created a set of courses and content modules in the open source learning platform Moodle to help students explore topics of interest and offer reflections on their learning. Courses are accessible to all students as a result of the school's new one-to-one program and upgraded Wi-Fi network. The Nest period also provides access to the school's new makerspace. Mariah Rackley, NASSP is pleased to honor you as a 2018 Digital Principal of the Year. Please come forward.
Thank you, Christine. What a tremendous honor to be here this evening. I am humbled and I am privileged to be able to speak to you tonight. Many thanks to the National Association of Secondary School Principals for this incredible honor. Christina and Brian, I am honored to be in your company and excited for the adventures that the three of us will take together. I am blessed to work in the most amazing school. To say that I am passionate about our school is probably an understatement. I am the biggest advocate for the people, culture, and learning at Cedar Crest Middle School. I believe in their ideas, their innovation, their creativity, and the pride that they take in our school. Their efforts and their willingness to take risks and to try new things are a significant part of the reason why I'm standing here this evening. My journey is unique and fantastic because I've spent my entire 18-year career at Cedar Crest Middle School. Some people believe that to be a detriment, but I believe that it is the most tremendous opportunity. I was a learning support reading teacher for 7 years. I was an assistant principal for 1 year, and I am now beginning my 10th year as the building principal. The majority of the people I work with fall into one of two categories: people who have known me since I was a brand new teacher, 22, fresh out of college, or people who I've hired to teach the students in our building. I've grown up with our staff, and they are my extended family. They have shaped the person, educator, and leader that I am today, and together we have created a culture of community, school pride, and achievement. Now, my adventures in technology are probably not what you would imagine for a digital principal of the year. So I was kind of late to the social media scene. I only started using Twitter 2 summers ago with a lot of peer pressure to set up a professional account. So I painstakingly and begrudgingly agonized over those first 140 characters. I deleted, I inserted, I deleted again. I put in a picture, I took out a picture. But that first tweet, it changed my whole perspective. My first year of tweeting was a good start, but it wasn't what I wanted it to be. I learned to participate in Twitter chats thanks to Winston, and I started experimenting with my own professional development learning opportunities. But last year in Philadelphia at the national conference, I was inspired to do things better this year, to find ways to highlight the good things and focus on all of those positive things that were happening in our school. We started a campaign to brand our school, to get our teachers out on social media, to show more school spirit, to engage in activities that our school and our community would find meaningful and relevant to our students. So within the first month of school, we went from a handful of active Twitter accounts to over 50. And today, approximately 3/4 of our staff have active professional Twitter accounts. We started celebrating Falcon Fridays, where our staff and our students wore school colors or school gear every Friday. And you know what? We didn't miss one. We didn't miss one Friday. Every Friday was Falcon Friday, no exceptions. And it all started to catch on. And it became exactly what we hoped. The sense of school pride, the sense of community, the desire to be part of this amazing Falcon family, it exploded into opportunities to share, post, tweet, document, engage, support, blog, whatever you wanted to call it, opportunities to do more. And we capitalized on them. We used all of our avenues of communication to promote, advertise, encourage, and engage our students, our families, and our community in the most positive aspects of what we were doing in our school. Through blogging and capturing our school stories on a weekly wakelet, we promoted a culture of not only technology, but of digital citizenship, of building relationships, connections, of our community, and our responsibility. Preparing students for the 21st century, it really has little to do with what specific technology you use and everything to do with being fluent in the language that our students and our families speak. Technology and digital citizenship are the worlds in which our students and our children will live and work. We are obligated to prepare them for that world. But what I've learned is that the most meaningful lessons that we teach don't come from the textbooks. The most important things that our students learn are those lessons that we model for them: how to be kind to others, how to care for each other, how to be members of a community, how to respect each other, and how to be good citizens. Our students will remember the community outreach projects they do through Falcons Care. They will remember raising nearly $240,000 through 9 years of Minithon in the pursuit of a cure for pediatric cancer. And they will remember dressing in a sea of blue and gray on every Friday to celebrate Falcon Fridays. And through it all, they learn the importance of building relationships, tolerance, acceptance, compassion, and kindness. We teach our students how to make a difference in our world, and they gain insight into the most important life lessons of valuing people as individuals and understanding humanity. Finally, I'm only able to be here tonight because of the incredible support system that surrounds me in all of my crazy ideas, passions, dreams, and endeavors. I work in a wonderful school with wonderful people. I have an amazing support system in our school district. But personally, my amazing husband, Nate, who's also a school administrator, encourages me, supports me, lifts me up, and loves me in my best and absolutely in my worst moments. We have 2 wonderful sons who are patient with my work and have no idea how their statements like, "You are the best mommy," or "I love you so much," are the most meaningful things in the whole world. And finally, to my parents and my grandparents, for their unconditional love and support. They were my first teachers and taught me so many life lessons that we could never even begin to understand. They are my role models and my rock. I am very truly blessed. Thank you for allowing me to share my story with you. I love what I do, I love where I work, and I love the people who are on this wonderful journey with me. Thank you very much for recognizing our amazing school community. It is a true honor.
Wow. Well, I often often introduce myself as a proud principal, and tonight I am a proud principal, and I know why we say we have the best profession in the world. So join me in just giving us a hand for our profession. I almost thought that, like, I'm ready for school to start, and then I was like, nah, maybe not. So I want to say thanks to each of you, and will everyone just join me once again in recognizing the strides that each of our 2018 Digital Principals of the Year have made in implementing a 21st century education at their schools. Let's give them another big hand. And thank you again to all of our award recipients for the work that you do to improve our nation's schools. At this time, I'd like to invite Joanne, Executive Director of NASSP, back to the stage to recognize our other special guests. Thank you.
Let me just deviate a second from my script to tell you that listening to these speeches, which I have not read ahead of time, truly moved me this evening. Digital principals, assistant principals, and our Principal of the Year. I am so proud that NASSP has the resources to support a program such as this and support all of you. So thank you for being what you are. Again, thank you, Christine. NASSP is dedicated to supporting great leaders in every school, committed to the success of each student. For the past several decades, the association has recognized individuals or organizations whose services contributed significantly to this vision. These individuals are presented with the Distinguished Service to NASSP Award, and this year we honor Gary Kipp. Gary Kipp has served as the Executive Director of the Association of Washington School Principals, AWSP, for the past 15 of his 45 years in education. As a partner with NASSP, AWSP consistently leads the nation in NASSP membership. And Gary recognizes that the quality of board member nominees and state principals of the year he sends to national programs are a direct reflection of his organization. Seeking to build an ever closer relationship with NASSP, Gary has served on the State Executive Director Advisory Committee since 2007, chairing the committee from 2013 to 2015. Within the state of Washington, Gary led the development of the AWSP Leadership Framework, which provides a framework for principal evaluation and principal support for the vast majority of leaders in the state. Gary is widely respected in Washington State by the State Department of Education and college and university leaders. His colleagues respect him for his intellect, insight, experience, and humble demeanor. Did I hear a chuckle in the audience here? Yet while Gary takes his work seriously, he doesn't take himself too seriously. As his colleague in Wisconsin, Jim Lynch, says, ask Gary's peers throughout the country who makes them reflect most deeply on their profession, their answer would be Gary. And then ask them who makes them laugh the most, and the answer would be the same. I consider Gary Kipp a friend, a personal friend, and a friend of NASSP. I respect Gary's expertise so much that when NASSP was putting together the Bylaw Review Advisory Committee, I asked Gary to chair that committee. That committee will shape NASSP for many years to come. I consider him, as I said, a friend not only to us, but to me, but to the NASSP. His honest and thoughtful guidance as a member of the State Executives Advisory Committee has been extraordinarily helpful in navigating some challenging situations. And we are honored to acknowledge Gary Kipp's legacy by presenting him with this year's award for Distinguished Service to NASSP. Gary?
Thank you, Joanne. When Joanne called and said that I had received this, I thought, oh, what were they smoking back there in Washington, D.C.? And I was very curious about that. And then they said, we need a quote. We need one of your favorite quotes. Why? Okay, so that got me thinking, I need a quote about curiosity, because I was so curious about all of this. And so this is the one from Albert Einstein, and it says, I have no special talents, I'm only passionately curious. And I got to thinking about the role that curiosity plays in our work. And then I thought, oh, what is the role that curiosity plays in our own existence? And when you think about our development as species, it has come about because of our curiosity about the world around us. And when you look at a first grader's eyes, the glow in their eyes because they are passionately curious, that is what lights the fire for a first grade teacher. Now, I have not met Akil, and I have not met Erica or Christina or Brian or Mariah. Apparently there was a rehearsal and I missed it. I'm sorry. I apologize. But I listened to what you said tonight from that filter. I wonder what curiosity played in their evolution as a leader. And I heard it in every one of them. That each one of them was curious about something. How do I help this particular student? I think it was Christine that said, what we ask is, what does this student need? And then they ask, how do I get this teacher to deal with that student? And the good leaders lead with curiosity first. And you can't get to this place and be a leader like they are without leading with curiosity first. And if you don't have curiosity, you won't be effective. Sadly, I think what's missing in our national conversation today is people being passionately curious about what the other person is saying. What's their viewpoint? I think it's a prerequisite to modifying one's own opinion. And until we are willing to modify our own opinion, we will be stuck in the quicksand of only trying to change other people's opinions. We are living in a time when all leaders seem to be stuck in that quicksand. Until we can elect leaders who are curious, we are destined to continue the game of verbal dodgeball we seem to find ourselves in. But I have hope. My hope stems from what I'm seeing in schools today. I see principals leading schools in ways that emphasize curiosity and empathy in both teachers and students. I see principals who model curiosity because it is a part of who they are. I see principals learning from other principals. That's happening here. I see principals in leading ways that infuse curiosity and civic engagement of their students. Our future can be seen in the eyes of today's youth. The longer we can keep the light of curiosity in those eyes, the brighter our future is. That responsibility rests with today's principals. Paul Manna observed that principals are the multipliers of effective instruction. And I believe that principals are the multipliers of curiosity. I think that NASSP stands in a place in our society today to influence our future by influencing principals' curiosity. I am truly humbled and honored to receive this award and still a bit curious as to why. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, and congratulations again. NASSP also recognizes individuals, organizations, foundations, corporations, or publications that significantly improve or strengthen education. These awardees are recognized for their accomplishments by the NASSP Board of Directors for their distinguished service to education. And this year, the recipients of this award are the Honorable Arnie Duncan and the Rowland Foundation. Arnie Duncan served as a U.S. Secretary of Education under President Barack Obama from 2009 to 2014. First time I met him, I called him Secretary Duncan, and he told me to call him Arnie. During that period, Secretary Duncan was fearless in meeting head-on the biggest challenges in education: fair funding, teacher quality, student equity, and many other things, leading President Obama to declare, "Arnie has done more to bring our educational system, sometimes kicking and screaming, into the 21st century than anybody else." Always pursuing reality checks and seeking the voices of educators for policy input, Arnie instituted annual shadowing of principals by high-level Department of Education staff during National Principals Month. He quickly expanded that program to the Principal Ambassador Fellows Program, which he announced at the NASSP National Conference in 2013, and which identified 3 principals each year to be at the table in forming crucial education policies. Because of Arnie's commitment, dedicated principals experienced a warm welcome and an eager ear to learn from them at the highest level of government. While NASSP did not always agree with Arnie Duncan, we cannot deny that his tenure as secretary marked a period of exceptional competency, thoughtfulness, and a high regard for teachers and principals at the U.S. Department of Education. Secretary Duncan now serves as a managing partner of the Emerson Collective, where he works to expand opportunities for young people in his native Chicago. For his stalwart advocacy for kids across the socioeconomic spectrum and his support for educators who serve them, NASSP is proud to present to Arnie Duncan the Distinguished Service to Education Award. Unfortunately, he was not able to be with us this evening, but he accepts this award with great humbleness and pleasure and deepest appreciation. So let us give a round of applause to Secretary Duncan. The second recipient of the Distinguished Service to Education Award is the Rowland Foundation. A catalyst for school improvement in the state of Vermont, the Rowland Foundation believes that deep systemic change comes from visionary leadership built on key partnerships that develop between a school leader and the faculty they empower. To promote meaningful change from within, the Rowland Foundation annually offers 10 fellowships to Vermont secondary educators. The foundation seeks proposals in which a teacher and principal partner to improve an element of the school that profoundly impacts students by enhancing the institution's culture and climate. The Rowland Foundation assumes the key leadership role in the project's development and its implementation with financial support from the Rowland Foundation and the guidance of the executive director. To date, the Rowland Foundation has empowered 69 educators from 35 Vermont schools to lead transformational change in their buildings by engaging peers and students in practices that increase student agency and facilitate learning of key transferable skills. I'm pleased to present NASSP's award for Distinguished Service to Education to the Rowland Foundation. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Chuck Scranton, Executive Director of the Rowland Foundation.
Thank you, Joanne, and my sincere thanks to the board at NASSP for this distinguished honor. I was a principal for 28 years, 13 in elementary school, and then the last 15 in a Vermont high school. During those 28 years, I'd like to believe that some great ideas came out of my office because a teacher walked in. It was that simple premise that led to me knocking on the door 10 years ago to dear friends of mine, Barry and Wendy Rowland, to start a foundation, which really promoted a concept that didn't exist in our schools and frankly still doesn't. Most schools, you're a teacher or administrator. The concept of a teacher leader was unique to Vermont and has now been fostered by us throughout our state. As Joanne said, we have 69 Rowland Fellows, teacher leaders, who 10 years ago or just this past month knocked on a door to take a risk, potentially put a target on their back, to leave their classroom for up to a year, to effect change in their school because they passionately believed that something was wrong in the way in which their school had been organized. And this may not pertain to all of you here today, I certainly don't think it is, but in my travels around the country and visiting all 70 high schools in Vermont, we are a small state, I still feel that things are broken. I still feel that the manner in which I was educated as a student is the same as when my parents were educated. I still think that many of our schools you walk into and they're still siloed learning. I still think that many of the focus in our schools, well-intended focuses on curriculum, not on students. I still feel that teachers talk wonderfully among each other within their own departments, but rarely across the hallway or down around the next building across departments. And yet we all teach the same kids. So after 10 years, we have funded 35 different high schools in Vermont, and the work continues. The Rowlands profoundly believe in equity, and everything the Rowland Foundation has done over the past decade is to level a playing field in Vermont. Now, Vermont is not real well known for significant cultural, racial, or ethnic diversity, but we have staggering issues of disparity when it comes to socioeconomic issues. And there are so many students in our schools who, by any barometer, fall at the poverty level, for whom the opportunities that lie before many of our students, many of your students, don't exist. And the Rowland Foundation has really made an effort through our Rowland Fellows to address that issue. I remember, a few years back when I was still a principal of a school, it's kind of one of the things that led to the work I do now. It was my second or last year as a principal. I kind of realized that after 28 years, something new needed to happen. But I remember a moment, a senior walked into my office in the fall of her senior year. We were on 4x4 blocks. Mr. Scranton, I've reached all my credits. I want to do something different for the second half of my senior year. I said, Anna, what do you have in mind? Well, I have 4 credits to take. Senior English is the only required credit. And I have 3 electives. I have an art, I have a phys ed, and I have a science credit. But what I really want to do is I want to go to Arizona, where my uncle lives, and I want to work on a dig. She was passionate about archaeology. I believe it was a Native American dig. So that sounds like a great idea, Anna. Why don't you go talk to your teachers? It was a month before the new semester started. Come back and let me know. I expect her to come back a week later. About an hour later, she was back in my office. And I said, how'd it go? All right, to a degree. I said, what do you mean? Well, the art teacher said, that would be wonderful. The science teacher said, no problem, we can give you a credit for archaeology and find a way with technology to get your work done. Phys ed teacher said, that's not a problem whatsoever. The problem was the English teacher. So what was the problem? It was the department chair. He said, Anna, this sounds great, but when will you read Hamlet? And that was really interesting, that in order to be an educated senior in our school, one had to read Hamlet with the other students in the same room, saying nothing of what Anna was going to get in terms of reading of Native American cultures and so forth in Arizona. So Vermont is unique in that it passed Act 77 a few years back. It's a state-mandated law, and I'm not necessarily a top-down guy, but a state-mandated law that basically said all students by 2020 must graduate with proficiencies. All graduation requirements must be proficiency-based. All students must have a personalized learning plan, and, to Anna's point, all students must have extended learning opportunities. And last year at the conference we ran in Vermont, a group of students, after an hour-long workshop, presented to 500 or so of educators, principals, on this very theme. And they had a graphic, and it was a typical graduation ceremony with a podium like this, stairs coming up, and the graphic showed a long line of students coming up the traditional staircase. It showed a rope ladder being lowered down the front with kids climbing that rope ladder. They had a young lady running from the left with a pole vault to get to the stage. And the last thing they had was a young lady parachuting from above. And the point was, you don't all have to graduate in the exact same manner with the same number of Carnegie units, same number of credits. And so it's been my honor and the greatest joy of my life to be working for a foundation which recognizes teachers that really want to affect change. I really think that, top-down mandated change works. It's called compliance. We do it because we have to, kind of like paying our taxes. But real lasting change is fueled by passion. And I would give my left arm as a principal of the school to have 1 or 2 Rowland Fellows or teacher leaders on staff who have been given an entire year off from their teaching responsibilities to offer to do something unique and special and simply use me as a consultant. And that's the basis of all of our work. Sadly, Barry Rowland passed away just last week, 2 weeks ago, survived by his family and, of course, his dear wife, Wendy. But Barry died knowing that the National Association of Secondary School Principals chose to honor this one small foundation from this one small state with this distinguished honor. And I'm really honored to represent all the Rowland Fellows, the Rowland family, in accepting this award and doing so in front of a room of principals. There is no more gratifying, satisfying, frustrating, sometimes challenging, but always professionally rewarding work than being a school principal. And it's a joy to be in your presence, but I don't miss the job. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chuck. Here at NASSP, our members are why we do the work we do. Since 1916, NASSP's mission has been to advocate for you, support you, and provide you with professional growth opportunities. And we will continue to provide the ways for you to collaborate with one another, stay on top of current education trends, advance your career, and improve your school. Every day you show us how essential your leadership is to the success of our nation's schools and our students. You are why NASSP strives to remain the leading organization of and voice for school leaders across the United States and in over 35 countries around the world. Investing in you is an investment in learning. To recognize our amazing members each year, NASSP honors one member as its membership star. This year, the honor goes to Mary McBee, principal of St. Paul Central High School in St. Paul, Minnesota. Mary McBee joined NASSP on October 1st, 1976, and I'll save you the math, that's 42 years ago. Mary arrived in St. Paul, Minnesota in 1966, a young African-American teacher from the Jim Crow South. Though her parents completed only their grade school studies, Mary was second in her high school class and won a scholarship to Xavier College in New Orleans. The young teacher became an administrative intern, then an assistant principal. When she became principal at St. Paul Harding High School, she was the district's first female and first black high school principal. Mary took the reins of St. Paul Central High School in 1993, a position she still holds and cherishes, and she told me she's not retiring just quite yet. As principal at Central, Mary presides over the school's growing prominence in academics through AP and International Baccalaureate programs. At the same time, she also nurtures Central's award-winning performing arts. Once known as St. Paul's Black High School, Central is one of the city's most culturally and economically diverse and popular secondary schools, with a 92% overall graduation rate, including a rate of more than 80% for Black students. Teachers, students, and parents hold Mary in high regard, calling her the best principal they ever had, willing to assume any task, a tireless advocate for students, and an enabler of their passions. Mary's career is a testament to that bold vision and a steady hand that guides everyone to make possible the attainable. It is my honor to present this year's NASSP Membership Star Award to Mary McBee of St. Paul Central High School in Minnesota. Mary, please come forward.
Time for the glasses. Good evening, and thank you very much. What a tremendous honor to be, well, let's see, maybe if I read my own, that would help, huh? Forgot to turn the page, sorry. Good evening again. Fellow principals, President Christine Handy, Executive Director Joanne Bartoletti, members of the Board of NASSP, other honorees tonight, and especially family and friends in attendance. I'm honored to address you tonight as I receive the Membership Star Award. As a principal for the last 42 years, I can say that my journey has been like a walk in the woods. There have been smooth paths, divergent paths, and years where I've had to find my way back to the right path. As I share a bit of my journey, I will introduce you to some of the people, places, and events that led me here today. And I'm sorry I'm going to repeat some of the things that Joanne said, but it's important. My hometown is New Orleans. It was a place that taught me to love all kinds of people, all kinds of food, and all kinds of music. Gumbo, red beans, Fats Domino. Growing up there in the 1950s found me in a completely segregated black from white society. It was entirely separate, but also entirely unequal. That broader society told me that my options were limited. I could be an unskilled laborer like my mom, who stayed home, or perhaps a slightly skilled laborer like my father, the cook. I chose neither. My parents' names were Mildred and Renard. They told me that I could do things beyond what society allowed for a tiny colored girl from the South. I could do things that they had never done, they said. I could go places that they would never go. If I would work, serve, and have integrity, they said, if I would take the love and affirmation of my neighbors and my aunties and my uncles, I could forge a new direction. I could rise above my parents' paths because my parents believed that I would blaze a new trail. My 12th grade math teacher was Mr. White. An ironic name in that every teacher in every school I ever had was black. I had planned on attending a nearby public college, but he declared instead, you will attend my alma mater. And so he helped me to receive a major scholarship to Xavier University, a historic black Catholic college. When I say major scholarship, for all of you of that era, I mean it, $200. Huge. That first year's tuition, however, was $400. My older brother, thankfully, was there to support me as well, sending me $20 a month from his U.S. Air Force salary to pay the balance. I think my college began college on the installment plan. I graduated in 1966 with a degree in secondary social studies education. Administrators from St. Paul, Minnesota, public schools, had come to Louisiana during those civil rights years in search of teachers who might be willing to move. I followed the North Star to Minnesota with two other young black women, excited to pursue new opportunities. However, I've got to say that first winter, when the temperature hit minus 59 degrees, it felt like more like freezing my tail than blazing a trail. Teacher is the name that they gave me in St. Paul, a name of great pride. For 11 years, I taught middle school. It was not easy being a black Southern woman in a land of Andersons and Petersons, a mother juggling the needs of children, juggling the stress of a marriage that would crumble, and juggling the demands of teaching. I began learning to separate what I could control from what I could not. When mistakes were made, I moved ahead. I stood on the foundation of my upbringing while learning on the shoulders of friends. Perhaps you can relate to that. The year my fourth child, Marcy, was born, I was 34 years old. I had been studying late, night after night, year after year, along with the rest of my duties, and I had just completed my master's degree. For me, that graduate degree opened new doors. I was appointed to serve as an assistant principal at Harding High School in St. Paul. It was sometimes difficult with other administrators. Being a woman, early on, where there were very few of us, raising children, being black in an almost all-white society in Minnesota at the time, and being from the South didn't always give us a lot in common. But Minnesota was changing, and it has changed dramatically today. It has become more diverse and more open to differences. I was starting to meet more trailblazers around me, and I was reminded of two important trailblazers from my past that influenced the kind of principal I wanted to be. First, there was Leah McKenna, my junior high principal, a fiery redhead who had a no-nonsense presence. She was stern but caring and always had students' needs as her highest priority. Secondly, there was Dr. Mac J. Spears, my high school principal. Dr. Spears, a black male, had a doctoral degree from Harvard University, but chose to work in an urban high school during his entire career. He taught me about giving back to the community and about humility. After 5 years as an AP, I was named principal at a small alternative high school called Career Studies Center. Soon I would go on to serve as principal of a much larger Harding High School where I had been an assistant principal. I was the first black woman to be appointed as a high school principal in St. Paul, and 3 years later I went on to a broader leadership role with the district as director of secondary education for the next 7 years. Meetings, 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 initiatives, meetings. Sometimes, as you will find when you blaze a trail, it is straight through the woods. You can push obstacles and thorns aside. Determined, optimistic, you make things move. But you can't necessarily ford wide rivers, and you may not have a light in the darkness. Obstacles appear that you cannot control. I had to learn the difference. I called it unexpected change. It was in 1993 when I was called into my boss's office at the school district headquarters. "We think we need a new direction in this office," he said, going on to explain something about fit. "We would like you to choose other leadership roles," he said. Disappointed, of course. Optimistic, of course. While some whispered failure, I yelled opportunity. I left that district role facilitating meetings and establishing initiatives to become the principal of Central High School, the most fabulous decision that I've ever made. For 25 years, I have been a part of graduation of over 10,000 students and watched them move into positions of leadership in government, education, and media service. In fact, this year's mayor of St. Paul is a Central High School graduate, Melvin Carter. We're so proud of him. I realized that being a high school principal was my best fit. It's where I did my best work. I mentor, I teach, I support, and I hope to be the Mrs. McKenna or the Dr. Spears in the lives of up-and-coming educators, encouraging them to be trailblazers wherever they go, letting them know that it is always possible to become something more, that with integrity, hard work, and the support of so many along the way, that they will achieve their goals and maybe even surpass them in ways that they never expected or I never expected. I'm so grateful for this honor. It will always be remembered, and thank you so much for acknowledging my lots of years of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We are indeed fortunate at NASSP to have leaders and members among the finest in school leadership, and it's our honor to salute you for the great work you do each day. Thank you for joining us at this celebration, and thank you for the inspiration you are to your students, your communities, and to all of us. And now I invite you to continue the celebration at our reception, except for those who have to stay behind for photographs, the Principals of the Year, Assistant Principals of the Year, Digital Principals of the Year, and Mary. So please join us for the reception.